Hello everyone, before I dive in, kindly subscribe to this channel. I believed her. I believed every word my daughter said that day in the hospital waiting room, her mascara running down her cheeks as she gripped my hand and whispered that it wasn't an accident, that someone had to pay for what happened to her mother. Grief makes fools of us all. After 67 years on this earth and 42 years balancing ledgers as an accountant, I thought I could spot inconsistencies anywhere, in spreadsheets, tax returns, even people. My colleagues used to joke that I could smell a decimal point out of place from across the office. But I couldn't see the truth sitting across from me at Sunday dinner for 3 decades. Linda died when her brakes failed on the interstate. She was coming home from her weekly book club, approaching that steep off-ramp that curves toward Claremont, when her car simply wouldn't stop. The highway patrol report said she tried everything, pumped the brakes, pulled the emergency brake, but nothing worked. Her sedan shot through the intersection at the bottom and collided with a semi. I should have been in that car. Linda was supposed to pick me up from my doctor's appointment, but she was running late from book club and told me to grab an Uber. That decision saved my life but cost me everything that mattered. 200 people attended her funeral. Former students filled 3 rows of the church, some traveling from across the country. Linda had taught high school English for 30 years, and the impact she'd made was written on every face. Throughout the service, Sarah held my arm, her head on my shoulder, sobbing quietly. I remember thinking how blessed I was to have such a devoted daughter to help me through this nightmare. For days after we buried Linda, Sarah arrived at my door with a folder tucked under her arm. Her eyes were red but determined. "Dad," she said, spreading papers across the kitchen table. "I've been going through Mom's receipts. Look at this." She pointed to a repair invoice dated 2 weeks before the accident: brake service, brake pads replaced, brake fluid flushed. The signature at the bottom belonged to Marcus Rodriguez, who'd serviced our vehicles for 15 years from his small garage 2 blocks away. He worked on her brakes, Sarah said, her voice tight with anger. 2 weeks before they failed. I stared at the invoice, the numbers blurring through my tears. Maybe it was something else, I offered weakly. Something that happened after the service. Sarah grabbed my hand. "The highway patrol report says the brake lines were severely corroded, almost worn through. That doesn't happen in 2 weeks, Dad. He should have caught it. He should have replaced them." She pulled out the police report. I'd seen it before but couldn't bear to read it. "Brake line severely deteriorated," she read aloud. "Catastrophic failure consistent with lack of maintenance." She looked up at me, her mother's determination in her eyes. "Dad, this is negligence. This is manslaughter. Mom deserves justice." I felt something cold and hard form in my chest. "Okay," I heard myself say. "We'll talk to someone." Patricia Chen, no relation, was a wrongful death attorney with a reputation for thoroughness. After reviewing our documents, she nodded solemnly. "This is a clear case of negligent homicide. Your mechanic had a duty of care. He inspected the vehicle, worked on the brakes, and failed to identify a critical safety issue. 2 weeks later, that failure killed your wife. What happens now?" I asked. "We file a police report, push for criminal charges, and file a civil suit for wrongful death." Sarah squeezed my hand. "Do it," she said. Marcus was arrested the following Thursday morning. Sarah showed me the news article on her phone: local mechanic charged in fatal brake failure case. There was a photo of Marcus being led from his garage in handcuffs, his face slack with shock. I felt sick looking at it. "He killed her, Dad," Sarah said softly. "He killed Mom because he was lazy or incompetent or both. This is justice." I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her, because if Marcus was guilty, then Linda's death made sense. It was someone's fault. Someone could pay. But I kept thinking about Marcus, how he'd waive off payment for minor repairs, how he always called Linda Mrs. Chen with genuine respect, how he'd stood in the back of the church at the funeral, eyes wet with tears. "I know this is hard," Sarah said, watching my face, "but we're doing the right thing. While waiting for the preliminary hearing, Sarah took control of everything, meeting with lawyers, organizing paperwork, handling insurance calls. "You just rest, Dad," she insisted. "Let me take care of this." I was grateful at first. Grief had hollowed me out, and Sarah's efficiency felt like a lifeline. But then I noticed things. Small things. Sarah was driving a new Tesla. When I asked about it, she said it was a lease, that she'd gotten a promotion at the real estate agency. Then I saw a credit card statement on her counter. The balance was zero. Last I'd heard, she owed $23,000 across 3 cards. "Commission check," she explained quickly when she caught me looking. Big sale went through. I wanted to believe her. Then the insurance adjuster called me directly. "Mr. Chen, I'm calling about your wife's life insurance policy. We have a payout request from your daughter, but I wanted to confirm some details. The policy shows $250,000, but your daughter is claiming it should be $500,000. I froze. "I'll have to look for the documents. Can I call you back?" After 3 hours searching Linda's files, I found the policy, $250,000, clearly stated. I called Sarah. "Hey honey, the insurance company called. They're saying the policy is for $250,000, not $500,000. Did you mix it up with something else?" There was a long pause. "Oh, Dad, I'm sorry." "You're right. I must have been thinking of the combined value with your policy. My mistake." It was plausible, but something in her voice was off. I started paying attention. Sarah had been coming over almost daily since Linda died, cooking dinner, doing laundry, organizing paperwork. She was always there when the mail arrived, always the first to grab and sort it. "Just trying to help, Dad," she'd say. One afternoon, I watched from the window as she rifled through a stack of envelopes, pulled one out, studied it, then slipped it into her purse. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the insurance call, the new car, the paid-off credit cards, how quickly Sarah had blamed Marcus, how insistent she was about pressing charges. At 2 a.m., I made coffee and opened Linda's laptop, the one Sarah had been using to organize everything. I checked the browser history. Google searches from a week before Linda died, life insurance payout timeframe. Can beneficiaries access policy early? Average life insurance amount 60-year-old woman. My hands trembled. More searches, how to check if someone sabotaged car. Signs of brake failure. How long do brake lines last? All deleted but recoverable. I closed the laptop, unable to breathe. No. This wasn't real. I was grief-stricken, paranoid, seeing patterns that weren't there because that's what accountants do. The next day, I called Marcus's public defender, James Patterson. "Mr. Chen, I can't discuss the case with you. You're the victim's family." "I know. I just wanted to ask about the brake inspection." "What did Marcus say about it?" Patterson was quiet for a moment. "He maintains he did a thorough inspection. He says the brake lines were fine when he looked at them. He showed me his checklist, everything was documented. But the police report says they were corroded." "Yes. Which means either he missed it or something changed in those 2 weeks." "What could change in 2 weeks?" "Honestly, not much. That kind of corrosion takes months, sometimes years. Either he's lying about checking them or what?" Patterson hesitated. "Or someone damaged them after he did the service." I drove to Marcus's garage that afternoon. It was closed, yellow police tape across the door. I sat in my car, staring. Marcus had a wife and 2 teenagers. I'd met them at neighborhood barbecues. Good people. Now his life was destroyed because of what my daughter said. What she said, not what the evidence proved. That evening, there was a knock at my door. My neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, a widow in her 70s who lived 3 houses down, stood there holding a laptop bag, her face grave. "Robert," she said quietly, "We need to talk." I let her in, and she sat heavily on the couch. "I don't know how to say this," she began. "I've been struggling with whether to come forward, but I can't stay silent anymore." My heart pounded. I have a dashcam in my car. It faces the street from my driveway and records continuously, overwriting every 72 hours unless I save the footage. She paused, watching me. "The night before Linda's accident, I couldn't sleep. I was sitting in my living room around 2 a.m. looking out the window when I saw someone in your driveway. At first, I thought it was Linda going somewhere, but then I realized the person was under the car. My mouth went dry. I didn't think much of it then, figured maybe you were doing late-night maintenance. But then Linda died, and I heard about the brake failure." She pulled out a USB drive. "I saved the footage. I've watched it probably 50 times. Robert, I think you need to see this." She opened her laptop, plugged in the drive, and turned the screen toward me. The video was grainy black and white, timestamp 2:17 a.m. I could see my driveway clearly under the streetlight. Sarah's car was parked behind Linda's, and Sarah, my daughter, was lying on the ground underneath Linda's car. She was there for 11 minutes. When she emerged, she was holding something. The video quality wasn't good enough to identify what, but she wiped her hands on her jeans, got in her car, and drove away. I watched it 3 times without speaking. "I'm so sorry," Mrs. Rodriguez whispered. "I know this is your daughter, but that mechanic is sitting in jail, and I can't let an innocent man take the fall." Something between a sob and a gasp escaped my throat. "Have you shown this to anyone else?" I managed. "No, I wanted to talk to you first." "But Robert, I have to go to the police." "You understand that, right?" I nodded slowly. "Yes. You have to. You should." After she left, I sat alone in the dark. My daughter, my little girl, the child Linda and I had raised, loved, sacrificed for, had killed her own mother for money. For insurance money to pay off credit cards and buy a new car. And she had let me blame Marcus. Let me help destroy an innocent man's life. Let me help her get away with murder. I called Patricia Chen the next morning and told her to drop the civil suit. Then I called the district attorney and requested a meeting. 2 detectives came to my house the following day. Mrs. Rodriguez brought her footage. They watched it. They asked questions. They took notes. "Mr. Chen," one said gently, "we'll need to bring your daughter in for questioning." "Are you prepared for that?" Was I prepared to watch my daughter be arrested for murder? To lose her the same way I'd lost Linda? "Yes," I said. "Do what you need to do." They arrested Sarah at her apartment the next morning. I wasn't there, but I saw the news coverage. She was crying, screaming that it was a mistake, that someone had set her up. The forensic analysis of the brake lines matched the dashcam footage perfectly. They found tool marks consistent with deliberate cutting. They found Sarah's fingerprints where they shouldn't have been under the car. They recovered deleted searches from her phone, how to cut brake lines without detection. Insurance payout for accidental death versus natural death. Do they investigate car accidents thoroughly? When they searched her apartment, they found Linda's jewelry, pieces Sarah had claimed were lost, that she was planning to sell. The prosecutor explained it all. Your daughter was $70,000 in debt. She'd been borrowing money from your wife without your knowledge. When Linda cut her off and threatened to tell you, Sarah panicked. She knew about the life insurance policy, knew she was the beneficiary, and knew if it looked like negligence rather than murder, no one would question it. But why let me blame Marcus? I asked, my voice breaking. Why let me destroy him? Because it gave her cover. As long as everyone focused on the mechanic's incompetence, no one was looking at her. And having you publicly backing her story made her look like a grieving daughter seeking justice rather than a killer covering her tracks. Marcus was released that afternoon. I went to see him at his garage. He was standing in the parking lot, staring at the broken police tape, shoulders slumped. "Marcus," I called. When he saw me, his body tensed as if preparing for an attack. "I'm sorry," I said, the words catching in my throat. "I'm so sorry." I believed her. I should have questioned. I should have investigated. I helped destroy your life and I couldn't finish. Marcus stared at me for a long moment. Then he said quietly, "Your wife was a good woman. She didn't deserve what happened, and neither did you. This isn't your fault." "It is. I'm her father. I should have seen." "You saw what you were supposed to see, what she wanted you to see." He shook his head. "I've got kids too. I understand wanting to trust them, needing to trust them. How can you forgive me?" "Because I know what it's like to lose everything and need someone to show you grace." I broke down right there in his parking lot. And Marcus, this man I had helped prosecute for murder, put his hand on my shoulder and waited while I cried. The trial lasted 3 weeks. I attended every day, sitting in the back row. Sarah never looked at me, not once. The jury deliberated for 4 hours before convicting her of first-degree murder. The judge sentenced her to 25 years to life. As they led her out of the courtroom, she finally turned and looked at me. I don't know what I expected to see, remorse, maybe, or regret, some sign of the daughter I thought I knew. But there was nothing. Just cold calculation. She had played the odds, and she had lost. I sold the house afterward. Every room held memories of Linda, now poisoned by what Sarah had done. I used the money for 3 things. First, I paid Marcus's legal fees, every penny. I couldn't give him back the 3 months he spent terrified of prison, but I could ensure he wasn't financially ruined. Second, I helped rebuild his business. The publicity had destroyed his reputation. I wrote letters, made calls, gave testimonials. I became his loudest advocate. Third, I started a foundation in Linda's name for wrongful conviction support, to help people like Marcus who get caught in the machinery of justice through no fault of their own. I visit Sarah once a month at the Women's Correctional Facility. I don't know why I keep going. Some part of me hopes she'll finally show remorse, finally admit what she did, finally give me an explanation that makes sense. But she never does. She just asks about the house, about whether I've reconsidered testifying for her parole, about whether I've talked to any lawyers about appeals. Last month, I asked her directly, "Why? Why did you do it? She was your mother. She loved you." Sarah looked at me like I was stupid. She was cutting me off, Dad. Said I needed to learn to budget, to be responsible. I couldn't live on what I was making. I needed that money. "So you killed her." "I didn't mean for you to be in the car. That was never part of the plan." My blood ran cold. "The plan? You had a plan?" "Of course I had a plan. You don't think I just woke up one day and decided to cut brake lines, do you? I researched. I prepared. I made sure it would look like an accident." She said it like she was describing a business deal. "And Marcus?" I asked quietly. She shrugged. Collateral damage. The story needed a villain. He was convenient. I left without saying goodbye. I haven't been back since. People ask sometimes how I'm coping with losing both my wife and daughter in the span of a few months. I tell them I'm managing, that I'm taking it one day at a time, that the foundation work keeps me busy. I don't tell them about the nights I wake at 2 a.m. thinking about that dashcam footage, about Sarah lying under the car, methodically cutting through brake lines, knowing that when her mother drove that car, she would die. I don't tell them that I've replayed every conversation with Sarah over the past decade, looking for signs I missed. They were there. I see them now, her constant need for money, her resentment of Linda's frugality, the way she talked about inheritance as something owed rather than earned through love and care. I missed it all because she was my daughter and I trusted her completely. Mrs. Rodriguez saved Marcus's life when she brought me that footage. She saved my conscience, too, stopped me from being complicit in a double injustice. I made her a beneficiary of Linda's estate. She didn't want to accept, but I insisted. You did what was right, even when it was hard, I told her. That deserves recognition. Marcus's garage is thriving now. He's hired 2 more mechanics. He sends me a Christmas card every year with a photo of his family. I'm grateful he's generous enough to include me in that tradition. But I know I'll carry this guilt for the rest of my life. I helped my daughter almost get away with murder. I turned against an innocent man based on nothing but her word. I was so blinded by grief and my need to trust her that I couldn't see the truth right in front of me. Linda would be heartbroken if she knew what Sarah became. But Linda would also tell me to forgive myself eventually, to learn from it, to do better. I'm trying. Every day I'm trying. But some nights, when I'm alone in my small apartment with a glass of whiskey and Linda's photo on the mantel, I think about that moment in the hospital waiting room when Sarah gripped my hand and told me someone had to pay. She was right about that. Thank you for following me on this journey. Kindly leave your thoughts and comments below and don't forget to hit the subscribe button.